I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No. You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am back with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a film released at the beginning of August. It was a film I thought I wasn't really going to be able to catch till I got back from up north, but it turns out this old tourist attraction of an old town version of the town there actually has a theater that still operates. It apparently has been operating for years, but it's just not open every day because their schedule is mostly the weekends or Thursdays. But this review is going to be for 2025's The Naked Gun reboot, which is not directed by David Zucker, is not involved with the Zuckers, and this is a film that nobody really expected to be good, but surprisingly, it turns out some people really like this film, and that got me thinking, a comedy reboot that's actually good? Well, we'll see about that, but yeah, so what is the plot of Naked Gun reboot? Well, there's only one man that has a set of skills to lead police squad and save the world, and that's Frank Drebin Jr. And this time it's to save the world from another foe and an upgraded police squad. Yeah, so basically in a way, it's pretty much now Frank Drebin's son-ish, having to kind of take on police squad from here and kind of take on Frank Drebin's role in the earlier films. So that's my reaction. So I had watched the original trilogy before I left for my trip, and this trailer, well, because I saw this teaser long before I even saw the films, and I didn't have much of a reaction. So I just didn't know what to think of it. And just thought, it was all. Plus, to be fair, another thing though is that now Liam Neeson's taken on the role for this one, but the thing is, Liam Neeson, in the most recent times, had a lot of stinkers for years, like a lot of action films trying to be taken and them just flopping miserably to the point where most action films with Neeson were now becoming kind of a joke to the action industry because it's like they try to repeat the success of Taken. They had 2 terrible Taken sequels. Taken 2 sucked. Taken 3 sucked. We've had too many knockoffs of that film, and they've all bombed as well. Like, what was the last film Liam Neeson's been in that was worth a shit that wasn't Taken? Well, there was a Lego movie, but that's been about it. So, I saw the film to close off my North trip, and how was this movie? Well, it was surprisingly good. Was it better than the first 2 films? No. No, it isn't. Even I think the second one is better than this. But it's definitely good for a reboot-ish sequel. Because in a way it's kind of a reboot at times, and also does kind of feel like a sequel to the other films at times. Because the thing is, they still reference the other films. They don't act like the other films never happened. And also, well, to be quite fair, it kind of does its own little story. So I really did like that stuff. I like that they still acknowledge the other films. They still pay tribute to the other films. They still act like the other films in a way kind of still happened. And it was a good little tribute to Leslie Nielsen in the beginning of the film. So how was this film made? Well, originally, The final insult was supposed to be the send-off to the series, but then in 2009, a fourth film would be planned as a direct-to-TV sequel starring Leslie Nielsen, but the film languished years of development, and in 2011, Leslie Nielsen had sadly passed on. May he rest in peace, but then they tried to relaunch it again, this time with Ed Helms helming the project. Yeah. He didn't end up helming this, but he did end up helming that terrible Vacation reboot. The less said about that film, the better. Then that did not happen, and then January 2021, Seth MacFarlane got hired to develop this version. He even expressed interest in casting Liam Neeson in the main role. And MacFarlane was originally, at the time, going to direct it, but then Schaffer replaced him after the film got greenlit in October 2022. He still did produce it, though. He's still the producer, and Liam Neeson was cast in the main role. Then Pamela Anderson got cast in April 2024. We haven't seen her for a while. This is one of her first projects in a while that's gone to theaters. She took a bit of a break from Hollywood, focused on a bit of life. And then further casting took place the following month. Then filming began in Atlanta that month and wrapped in June. So, after the Naked Gun reboot or sequel-ish, was shot and marketed, it premiered at the SVA Theater in Manhattan on July 28, 2025, and was released in the United States by Paramount Pictures on August 1st, 2025, and this is could be one of the last films that's going to be released by Paramount as a sole company because Skydance had to fucking merge with them. Fuck. And honestly, I hate they're merging with them. I wish Paramount would stay the fuck alone as a standalone company. It's fucking bullshit. But when this came out, the movie got positive reviews from critics and has grossed over $62 million worldwide on a $42 million budget. So, it's gotten good reviews, but to be fair, I can also in a way see why it's not doing too good at the box office, because here's the thing. When have parody films ever been worth a dime? When have they been worth a dime for years? The problem with that is the parody genre died because Seltzer Freeberg's terrible fucking films have killed it. The last time a parody movie was good was Tropic Thunder. That was the last good parody movie. And ironically, that was the year when parodies were dying. Because like weeks after Tropic Thunder, we had the terrible Disaster movie that went to theaters, that bombed, while Seltzer Freeberg somehow still had careers. Apparently, none of their films got wide release after that. And for good reason. Because no one wanted to distribute their bullshit. Like, I'm surprised those guys ever made money on any of their stuff. Well, that's because Scary Movie was a hit. That's why. Like, back then, because 2000 Scary Movie was successful, that got sequels, and in 2003, even that franchise got stupid. And that's the thing. Because I like this movie, does this mean I'm excited to see Scary Movie 6 now? Even with the Lions back? No. Because Scary Movie has been damaged enough. Like, at least the Naked Gun stopped at the right time. Like, at least they originally at the time stopped at 3 movies and let it rest for a little while. To avoid milking it to death and then becoming Scary Movie's fate. Scary Movie, yeah, got the creators of this series involved, but that's when the series just got stupid because they kept referencing stuff that wasn't Scary Movies. At least like Scary Movie 1 and 2, yeah, Scary Movie 1 and 2 referenced other stuff, but the references were more minimum. And they were still actually parodying horror films. This time around, they're like cramming in stuff that's not scary films in the later stuff with the Zuckers involved. Like, just because you have the creators of this series and Airplane involved does not automatically mean you're going to be good. Like, the Zuckers at that time were hitting a down note. But yeah, more on that. Let's get back to this review. So, here are the good qualities in the story on why this Naked Gun reboot was surprisingly good. So, comedy movies, as we know in this era, have been near extinction. Because this type of funny humor was non-existent in today's world nowadays. Like, we don't have the Austin Powers or Zoolanders or Kung Paos or any, like, actually funny comedies until, really now, like, if you don't count stuff like Deadpool and Wolverine or Jackass Forever, it's rare to get a good comedy in this era. Most of the comedies we get now, we get the shitty Clerks 3s, we get the shitty Happy Gilmore 2s, which we got earlier this summer. Fuck that movie. Fuck that awful Happy Gilmore sequel. We got shit like Bros. Okay, what other shit we got? We get just a lot of like either depressing comedies that are apparently supposed to be funny, and they're not. Or, if you get comedy sequels, you get ones that are say, hey, remember this movie? Hey, remember that movie? Hey, remember that movie? Yeah. All my shelves. At fucking home. That's the only comedies we get in today's world. Like, sometimes you could get lucky with stuff like Beverly Hills Cop 4 and Jackass Forever because those were actually good comedies. Actually done by people that actually care about their franchises. And because it's actually helmed by the main stars that are still funny today. Like, but now with this film, like, it feels like you have actually kind of more clever humor again. In a way, like, it's not referencing constant other films. It's actually about cop films this time. It's kind of about cop reboots. Like, The Naked Gun, this 2025 reboot knows it's kind of a stupid reboot in the best way possible. It's cleverly random, and it's pretty much really obnoxious as well. Like, I laughed really hard watching this film. Like, yeah, I surprisingly laughed really hard watching a lot of this film because, like, this is the hardest I've laughed in a while. And with the non-stop quick-rated comedic attempts, like, it was actually all a really good time, and I'm glad I ended up seeing this film because this was actually a surprisingly good reboot. Like, this film, in a way, kind of knows it's a reboot, and it's actually, in a way, kind of making fun of franchise legacy reboots. It kind of makes fun of them. It actually knows it kind of is aware it's an unnecessary reboot, and it wants to be an unnecessary reboot. It kind of makes fun of how unnecessary reboots can be. And stuff, and sometimes disrespectful to the old franchises. Right there, they even reference that stuff here. So, how do we start off our Naked Gun reboot? So, Frank Drebin Jr. of the LAPD police squad, Frank Drebin's son, just starts off with him dispatching gang bank robbers while disguised as a schoolgirl like you saw in the teaser. And this is a funny scene because he takes out the lollipop that the schoolgirl disguise has. He fights them with the lollipop and all like the robbers and stuff, and then... But what we don't know is, like, this was a distraction to steal a gadget called a plot device from a deposit box, and so we now get to our newly renovated police squad station, where Chief Davis, the new chief, is reassigned Drebin from the case because his over-the-top law enforcement is now a legal liability. Like... And like, you even get like the references, like, why did police squad have to become so strict? At least my dad now. This is where they pay tribute to Frank Drebin Sr. like you saw in the teaser. At least my dad's not around to see how bad police squads become. Like, and I'm with them on that. Like, this is kind of what you get like with comedy reboots, and right there, and it kind of shows the whole stuff that's wrong with comedy reboots. And he does pray them to send this owl as a sign of approval. And then you get throwbacks to all the other cast members, and where they're paying tribute to the cast members, like all their kids are paying tribute to the original cast members of the trilogy, and sadly the thing is, like, you don't really get a tribute to Priscilla Presley's character. Like, I kind of wish we did, like, I kind of wish we did reference Priscilla Presley's character from the other films here. Like, they never mention where she went to. They don't really mention her at all. You kind of act like she doesn't exist. This is one problem, and well, you do get a tribute. Well, no, in a way, it's not really a tribute per se, but it's kind of more of it is, well, you get a picture of Norberg, O.J. Simpson's character from the other films, but Norberg's son, like, they do kind of reference they do kind of, in a way, acknowledge the bad stuff O.J. Simpson did. And when, like, Norberg's son sees him, was like, no. Yeah, you do kind of get that. Yeah, it's kind of, well, yeah, you know. We all know that stuff, but I want to review the film. I don't really want to talk about the O.J. Simpson stuff here, because I just want to review this movie. So, on Drebin's new case, he investigates software engineer Simon Davenport, our failed car crash, aka he's our new technically we're somewhat caused by our new antagonist, and he deems it suicide, but then notices a matchbook at the scene, and then when this toy-like crane, kind of referencing the claw machines at the arcades, tries to lift up the car, and then drops it in the water, and it still crashes anyway. Then Simon's sister is Beth, this crime novelist, and argues otherwise, but Drebin doesn't want her to investigate further, so Drebin then finds Richard Kane, the wealthy employer at Entech, our new antagonist, at the company's tech expo, and they even discuss how they like the Black Eyed Peas, and even referencing all the members of the Black Eyed Peas, and then of course Kane donates this electric car to Police Squad. And of course, you get a really funny moment when Drebin Jr. is testing it out, and it's basically now what he does is he pretty much forgets to take out the plug that's charging it, and it dismantles the entire electricity. It breaks out the prisoners, and that wreaks havoc because with Drebin Jr. behind the wheel, and then of course he goes to the personal nightclub of Richard Kane, and Drebin notices the matchbook that's found at Simon's crash site has the same logo as a nightclub. So there are some moments that are definitely laugh out loud hilarious. There are some that are just okay, don't really work with me. But when a joke doesn't hit, the pacing's fast to forget about right away. And Liam Neeson is excellent and it was surprisingly hilarious as Frank Jr. His deadpan delivery worked perfectly well. He actually did feel like the Frank Drebin from the originals, and there are great cameos and nice tributes to the original film and its cast. And even though it is a comedy, the movie's in a way does get shot like a serious crime thriller, and you really see the talent of cinematography in the entire film crew. And they clearly put a lot of care into every detail, and the work makes the movie feel sharp and professional because the humor has an even bigger impact. And Liam Neeson definitely did bring the spirit of the late great Leslie Nielsen alive, and he and Pamela Anderson, they're definitely hilarious, and their romance actually feels very believable for a comedy movie. And you also get a cameo from Weird Al again that keeps his streak of appearing in all the films alive, and I mean, yeah, it's not a perfect film. It's not a perfect film like some critics do make it out to be, because I did have some problems with it. I don't think it's better than Naked Gun 2. I'm sorry. I think Naked Gun 2 is still better. I still think the original movie is still better. No, you can't go near the original films. Those calling it this movie is even better than the original. No. I would disagree on that stuff. I still like the original better. I mean, I like this film, but come on, guys, it's not better than the original movie. It is not. Not like paid critics' website Rotten Tomatoes seems to make it out to be. It's still got some problems. It's still got some flaws. It's still a bit of a weak step down from those two films, but it was definitely surprising for what it was. Not one of the best comedy films of all time. I like the originals better. I like Airplane better than this film. I still like Tropic Thunder better than this film. There's a lot of Spaceballs is better than this film. This is not better than those movies. It's definitely got dumb humor in the best way. It still keeps the spirit of the original movies and the original Police Squad TV show alive, and the jokes and the humor, they're definitely turn brain off and laugh at the absurdity, because that's kind of the thing, this is the kind of humor we could use right now, especially in this decade. Right now, because in a decade where apparently people get all offended and stuff, and at any kind of joke nowadays, this is times when we wish we could have something to laugh at. The movie has big shoes to fill, and it does somewhat do it justice. You could tell Seth MacFarlane actually really cared about doing this series right, and actually did try to bring the series back to life, and it does show. I mean, I don't think we'll get a sequel because it's not really doing good at the box office, and I can kind of see why it's not doing too good at the box office, to be fair. Because, the parody genre is still kind of dead. The funny moments here are still very funny here, and material still feels very fresh. You have the opening title sequence where the person typing the title ends up after the opening scene runs out of room, and then because he makes like Naked Gun take up most of the screen. It's like, oh shit, once it gets to G and he can't fit the UN, so he has to put UN at the bottom of the G and a smaller font on the right side. And then of course when Frank arrests one off criminal that's played by Busta Rhymes in a cameo, he used his body cam to prove one of the bank robbers was at the heist, and that's everything he got up to. But it turns out he has to show everything he got up to that day because he had this addiction to chili dogs. He had a constant potty emergency after another. And even it was even admitting, I ate 5 more that day. And eventually though, even the crook's like, stop eating those. And like right there. And then they finally get to where Busta Rhymes' character a part of the crime scene was. Or when Beth and Frank Jr. first meet and then leaves the office, Frank Jr.'s like narrating about how hot she really was, and I find her so attractive. And of course, another narration from Hawken, and then everyone also does this, and Frank Jr.'s like, do you guys mind? Or when, like, in the smart car that Frank Jr. gets when he tests it out, and it's pretty much then causes him to accidentally pull out all the electric charging hubs and breaks out all the prisoners, or then gets trapped in that car at one point in the film by Richard Kane when he tries to frame him from a crime. It's set to drive into the ocean, but he busts out the windshield, tries to climb out, but he almost runs over a clown, then hits a beehive, the car gets filled with angry bees, then hits 2 guys that are carrying the same windshield that just automatically fixes the windshield. And so he's now sealed back in the car, and he manages to hijack the car and open the doors to get out. Or even, like, during the beginning when he's being berated by the chief, like, it's revealed that Frank Jr. is pretty much like, one point you arrest all the McDonald's staff, but they wouldn't give me freedom fries, or I did this because of Janet Jackson's Super Bowl. It's like, he's like right there. Right there, like, it's just plenty of moments. Or there's this X-ray goggle sequence when Frank and Beth go to Frank's apartment and he's trying to make dinner, and when Beth's cleaning the oven, it looks like she's yeah, because of the positions. And then of course, when he's using the turkey baster for dinner, it kind of looks like he's pissing. Right there, and of course, then the dog comes to lick the bastard. It looks like it's. Or when Beth goes, here's the turkey bastard, and it looks like. I can't say because it's a little inappropriate to say in this video. I kind of don't want to get a strike, so you know what I'm talking about. It looks like those. Let's just say it looks like something raunchy in a way. So, meanwhile, though, Richard Kane then demonstrates that he's going to use this stolen plot device that's going to revert, which stands for primeval law of toughness. It's going to use this device to revert humans back to their little barbarian nature, and with the population of billionaires that are insulated in a bunker. Meanwhile, Frank Drummond Jr., who's interrogating one of the bank robbers, he learns of the deposit box and connects the 2 cases. And at Kane's club, like, Beth distracts Kane with this improvised, like, scat singing that actually is also a very funny moment. Drummond fights many goons, and even, like, there's a bit of a lineup of the goons he's beating up, and discovers that Simon has to discreet with a journalist. But then, of course, after that, Davis then suspends Drebin because of insubordination. So Beth stays with the demoralized Drebin and considers moving on from memories of his late wife right there. And you find out, like, the apartment's messy. Sorry, I've never had the time to clean because I've been mourning my wife. So Drebin and Beth then spend this romantic weekend at an Alpine Lodge. They at some point have a threesome with the snowman, which I will admit that part didn't really feel all that funny to me. But then, of course, the snowman turns murderous because they neglect it, and so they have to kill the snowman. I guess I wonder if that was supposed to be like a throwback to that 1997 horror film Jack Frost, like when the serial killer died and then became a snowman, a killer snowman. and went on a killing spree. If those who remember that horror film, not so bad it's good horror film. If it was a throwback to that, it didn't really work. It just didn't really feel that funny. That bit kind of felt a little too ridiculous. I don't think you really needed that part of the film. It didn't really go anywhere. It didn't really have much to do with the plot. But then Frank Drebin Jr., once they get back from their getaway, he finds a journalist murdered, gets tricked into incriminating himself, and then flees in the electric car. But it turns out Richard Kane had overrode the controls and traps Drebin Jr. in the car like he did with Simon, so it's going to look like Simon's death again. Drebin, though, is able to get out of the windshield despite all the little hijackings, like with the clown balloons or the beehive, and then the windshield getting fixed. But he's able to, like, he activates Clippy to hijack the car, and it was able to help unlock the door, so he gets out. But it turns out Police Squad has now been shut down, and, well, it's now being replaced with a Spirit of Halloween store. As you kind of see in the background, so that got a laugh out of me. Like, they're just turning into a Spirit of Halloween place, and then Beth reveals that Simon featured the misguise of the plot device. And Drebin suspects that Beth's using him, and angrily leaves her home. Like, and he even sees, like, you took my TiVo, and you connected to the internet, so now... like, reviving something like the Naked Gun, is stepping in the shoes of late Leslie Nielsen. This is a way that could have kind of gone horribly wrong, like many reboots of classics do, but right here, like, this ended up being like a got lucky exception, because this was actually done by people that clearly cared about the series, didn't shit on it, and actually treated it as kind of more of a passion project. Like, it was a bold move for Liam Neeson to take on an iconic comedy role that really should have been left in peace to the late actor, but here they actually but here in a way he's playing the character's son, and not just trying to play the character again. And also in kind of like a way, like, there's other action stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone that have attempted comedic turns with some kind of mixed results. And, like, I wonder how they're convincing during the whole absurdity of their scenes, like, or performing these characters. Like, it's the hardest part to follow is the plot. Like, it's set up with the most basic premise at the beginning, and the route from there goes in, like, any and every direction until the wrap-up. Like, it's not a film to watch, like, repeatedly like the first two, but it's a film that's worth a decent enough watch. Like, the length is perfect, the jokes are, like, pretty good for, like, it feels like the golden age of comedy, but, like, right there, like, the lack of, like, funny comedy movies nowadays is just kind of sad, like, and this is kind of like why I wish, like, more 9-minute long comedies could make a comeback. Like, because I'm tired of, like, the depressing ass comedies we have to get today, because apparently that's funny in today's world. Like, you can rarely get comedies like this, but I wish more would start making a comeback and not becoming more rare to get comedies like this nowadays. So, now we get on with the finale of the movie. So, Frank Drebin Jr. eventually captures Kane's henchman Gustafsson and frames him into confessing to the plan to activate the plot device at the New Year's ball drop at this little place called PonziScheme.com Arena. Just kind of like which basically is kind of more Staples Center, but the Naked Gun world, it's called PonziScheme.com Arena, which was a very clever name. So Frank Drebin goes there for the match, and is equipped with this earpiece that will block the plot device's influence. Beth wants to kill Kane, but Kane notices this and holds her hostage. Then Drebin finds a plot device in New Year's balls, but when he goes there, like, his pants get caught, and he loses his pants as then the balls drop, and exposes himself to the audience. So they don't respect his order to evacuate because they're too grossed out by it. Then the plot device activates, and then violence erupts through the city. And Drebin then fights to fight through innocence by using handgun magazines. He can't catch up with the escaping Kane, though. But the spirit of his dad arrives on an owl and airlifts Drebin, and which should be a little ridiculous, but this is a parody comedy series, so it's fine. And blinds Kane with, bird poop, which was kind of that was kind of a cringy joke, I'll admit that. But then Kane folds in agony after one punch to the guts, Beth nearly is about to shoot Kane revenge, but Drebin takes her down. Oh yeah, and during this fight scene, you get a cameo from Dave Bautista, which also was a nice little moment as well. Like, he was kind of like taking over Frank Drebin Jr.'s lines, but then, and then takes off and then gets attacked by the crazy crowd. And then, of course, so they foil Kane and they arrest Kane. And Drebin and Beth use the plot device to calm the crowd down simply like that. And so, in the aftermath, though, Frank Drebin Jr. is facing investigation by Eternal Affairs. That's actually the name of a tropical resort. And he's actually spending time with Beth. And, like, during the credits, though, you actually get a fourth wall break when you see that everybody around them is frozen. Like, kind of a little freeze shot, referencing freeze shots. And Frank Drebin Jr. sees the audience, like, who are they? And that's how the film ends off. And then during the credits, you get a throwback to the whole car you get the little cop car montage you saw in the opening titles for the first 3 films. For the credits bits, and like kind of like these little you get the flashbacks there. Like, that's one of like they tribute to the original cast, and well, the cop car are the throwbacks you get in the film. So I like that the throwbacks were a little rarer, and it was still trying to be an actual film this time, and not trying to be a nostalgia reference every few seconds. And then the post-credit scene, you get Weird Al making another cameo, and he's performing on stage to an empty bunker because the plot's been foiled. So, there's nobody in the bunker now. But that's how this new Naked Gun movie ends right there. And yeah, this was surprisingly a pretty good film, and a pretty good watch, and a pretty good laugh. Not better than the first 2, though. Now, would I have any bad qualities with the film? I say for my bad qualities, I don't really like the snowman joke. The snowman joke just never really sat well with me. Like, some jokes like that joke and the owl pooping on Kane's face, like with bird feces, that did not land well with me. The ending does feel a little rushed. And there is a bit of a sense that something felt a little missing. Well, even though the plot in a movie like this is never the main focus, but still, like, there's just some bits that just don't land well for me, like that snowman bit, the bird feces bits, the chief character, or like some of like Drebin Jr.'s friends just didn't really sit well with me. Like, they didn't really feel like they contributed much to the story. Though, but other than those, the Naked Gun 2025 is definitely a worthy addition to the series, and one of the few comedies we have in this era that I hope we get more comedies like this. No, not stuff like Seltzer Freeberg stuff. I mean, comedies that are well written and actually fresh humor. Okay, those comedies. I want like actual comedies like that. So in the end, yeah, I would watch it by Naked Gun 2025 for your collection for sure, no doubt, because it's definitely a pretty good reboot. Like, it's a surprising reboot. Like, I don't think a lot of people expected this to be good. And when it came out, like I expected this to get like Razzies, or expected this to get like really horrible reviews, and it's surprisingly not a bad film. No, it's one of the few good films that actually come out in what's been a shitty year for films. Anyways, that's it for my review of The Naked Gun 2025. If you want to rate The Naked Gun 2025, here's how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you're a fan of the series and want to see it have a great comeback, then I would totally watch it by Naked Gun for your collection for sure, no doubt. And I mean Naked Gun 2025, that is. And if you want to rank Naked Gun 2025, I'm going to give Naked Gun 2025 an 8 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for The Naked Gun 2025. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about the Naked Gun 2025 reboot-ish sequel. And until then, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.